Serena Hayes was 52 and used to getting her way. She ran a big real estate company, skyscrapers, fancy condos, the kind of deals that made headlines. People called her tough, sharp, unstoppable. Truth was, she'd built all that because trusting anyone felt too risky. Years ago, someone she loved took her savings and disappeared. After that, she decided money was safer than people. No kids, no partner, just work and the occasional gala where she smiled for photos and left early. One rainy January night, coming home from one of those events, a truck crossed the center line. Metal crunched, glass flew, and everything went black. When she came to, she couldn't move. Couldn't open her eyes, couldn't speak, couldn't even blink on purpose. But she could hear. The beeping machines, the nurses chatting about weekend plans, the doctor saying persistent vegetative state, like it was just another Tuesday. Locked-in syndrome, they called it later. Her mind was wide awake inside a body that wouldn't listen. At first, the visitors were the people she'd known for years. Her CFO, Robert, stood by the bed one evening when the room was empty. "Serena, if you're in there, we've got 30 days before the board can vote on incapacity. Your shares are worth a fortune. We need to know what you want." His voice was calm, businesslike. "No te hagas." Serena wanted to yell. "You've got 15 years of my trust, and this is what you do?" But nothing came out. Then came the friends. One took a discreet photo of the fancy hospital suite and posted it with a heart emoji and praying for our girl. Another whispered about selling the beach house. She barely used it anyway. Serena lay there feeling stupid for ever thinking those relationships were real. She started wishing the darkness would just take her. What was the point? She'd spent decades making sure no one could hurt her again. And now she was completely alone anyway. Then one quiet night, the door opened softly. No fancy shoes, just the faint squeak of sneakers and the rattle of a cleaning cart. Marcus Johnson was in his late 30s, tall, tired around the eyes. He'd worked nights at the hospital for years, mopping floors, emptying trash, the stuff nobody noticed until it wasn't done. He was raising his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, alone since his wife Angela passed from cancer 4 years earlier. Life wasn't easy. Bills stacked up. People sometimes looked at him sideways because he was a black single dad, but he showed up every day anyway. Marcus paused by the bed. "Evening, Miss Hayes. I was there the night of the crash. Held your hand till the paramedics came. You squeezed mine hard. Like you were saying don't let go. I kept talking to you the whole time, hoping it helped." He wiped down the bedside table, speaking low. "Doctors say you can't hear me, but I don't believe that. My wife, she was in a bed like this for a while. I talked to her every single day. Told her about Lily learning to tie her shoes, about the birds outside the window. I think she heard me, right up to the end." Serena listened, really listened, for the first time since the accident. No one else had talked to her like she was still a person. Marcus came back the next night. "Lily drew something for you." He set a piece of paper on the table, a wobbly sun, flowers, 2 stick figures holding hands. She said, "Tell the lady it's gonna be okay. Kids say the simplest things, but they mean them." He talked about his days, covering extra floors when someone called in sick, the way doctors walked right past him like he was invisible, the security guard who'd stop him sometimes just to check his badge even though they'd worked together for years. "People see what they expect to see," he said quietly. "They look at me and think they already know the story. But Lily, she looks at me and sees Dad. That's enough." He told Serena about Angela, how they met when he was new and spilled mop water everywhere. Angela, a nurse, helped him clean it up and said, "First week's always messy. It's what you do next that counts." They fell in love slow and steady. Simple wedding, little house, then Lily. When cancer came, Marcus worked doubles, prayed harder, sat by her bed holding her hand. "I told her everything. How Lily drew a picture of us as superheroes. How the rent was late but we'd figure it out. I believe she heard me. And when she slipped away, I wasn't ready, but at least she wasn't alone." Serena felt something crack inside her chest. She'd spent her life avoiding that kind of closeness. Now she was desperate for it. One afternoon Marcus brought Lily during visiting hours. The little girl walked in holding her dad's hand tight. "Hi, Miss Serena. she whispered, touching Serena's fingers. Daddy says you're stuck in there, but you can still hear us. I brought another picture. See? More butterflies. They mean you're gonna fly again someday. Lily leaned closer. Are you lonely? 'Cause when Mommy went to heaven, I felt lonely too. But Daddy said she's still with me right here. She patted her own chest. So you're not by yourself either. We can sit with you. Okay. Serena's mind filled with tears she couldn't shed. No one had ever asked her that. Not really. Marcus knelt down. Lily thinks prayers are like little letters to God. Every night she adds one for you. Please let Miss Serena wake up and have someone hug her. He stayed a while, telling Serena about the hard stuff too. Nights when the fridge was almost empty, when Lily needed new shoes and he had to choose between that and the electric bill. But then she climbs in my lap and says, "You're the best, Daddy." And suddenly none of that feels so heavy. The board kept pushing. Lawyers showed up with papers. A cousin Serena barely remembered appeared, talking about what's best for everyone. They planned to move her to a cheaper facility soon. Marcus overheard the nurses talking about it. That night he came in alone. They're talking about sending you away. I wish I could stop it. But thank you, Miss Hayes. Talking to you these weeks. It reminded me I'm not invisible. After Angela, I felt like part of me was gone. But you listened. Even if you couldn't answer, you were here. That matters. He squeezed her hand gently. The same hand from the crash. Lily's still praying for your smile. Goodbye for now. Something broke open in Serena. All her walls, all her money, all her control. It hadn't saved her from feeling small and scared. Marcus, with his quiet stories and his daughter's drawings, had given her the one thing she'd never bought. Someone who showed up just because it was right. Her finger twitched. Then her whole hand moved, just a little. Monitors went off. Nurses ran in. Doctors. Her eyelids fluttered open. The room was bright blurry. She saw Marcus in the doorway, frozen. Wait, she croaked, voice rough from disuse. Doctors swarmed. Marcus stepped closer, eyes wide. I heard you, Serena whispered. Every word. About Angela. About Lily. About not being alone. You're the kindest person I've ever met. Thank you. For seeing me. Marcus's eyes filled. He took her hand again. You're welcome. God, you're welcome. It took months, therapy, frustration, tiny steps forward. Serena came back slower than anyone expected, but she came back different. She cleaned house at the company. Robert and a few others were gone. The cousin got a polite but firm letter. She rewrote her will. Most of her money went into a foundation named for Angela. Help for single parents, medical bills, childcare, college funds for kids like Lily. Real help, not flashy donations. She offered Marcus more than he could imagine. He shook his head. I don't need millions. Just maybe a fund for Lily's school someday? That'd be plenty. Done, she said. And anything else you'll let me do? One sunny afternoon in the hospital garden, Serena sat in a wheelchair, feeling the breeze on her face like it was new. Lily ran up with a fresh drawing, 3 stick people holding hands under a big yellow sun. Serena in the middle. You're our friend now, Lily said seriously. Friends show up. And you showed up, even when it was hard. Serena laughed, a real shaky laugh. You showed me first. Marcus stood behind the chair, hands gentle on the handles. He didn't say much. He didn't have to. Serena looked at the drawing, then at them, and realized something simple. The richest thing in the world isn't money or power. It's someone sitting with you in the quiet, believing you're still in there, still worth talking to. She wasn't alone anymore. And neither were they.